Welcome back, everyone. Today we have Cinderbrew Meadery 11 as a Master of Harmony monk. This is the route that I took. It's pretty standard. You can't really skip much, maybe like one or two pulls. But other than that, it's pretty straightforward. Now, these are the talents that I took. In the last video, I forgot to add the page, but I dropped August Blessing and the New Zhao talent just so that I can take High Tolerance and Ambulance Stave or Stav just to see how that will work out. And same gear, 27.94% crit and 27.33% burst. The crit is up there because of the aggression flask. It adds like about 3 or 4%. Now, this dungeon is probably the necrotic wake of season 2. And by necrotic wake of season 2 is because of these large pulls that you have to do in the beginning. There's 2 or 3 casters per pull, and then the muscle who's in there who does AoE damage. So there's a lot going on, and in order for you to manage this, you have to use like AoE CC, and you don't want to pull more than one muscle because he does a lot of AoE damage or single target damage to your party members with throw chair ability. There I pulled another muscle just because another higher muscle because this one was pretty low. He was already at 20%. Because you can see there, the mage took like 50% of his health in one hit. If you pull two and someone randomly gets targeted by both, they will get one shot. So you don't want to do that. There I'm looking at Chewie. He's coming in, so I'm trying to make sure that I don't pull him in while I have these hired muscles. Because Chewie actually increases the damage that all of these other mobs do. So if they're harder to tank, I can imagine that the DPS and the healer will probably get destroyed. But there we pull him. And something that I found out is that if you pull him to this table here, you just position him a little bit and you stand over by the edge of the table. When he does tenderize, you don't really move at all. I think it's being knocked into the edge of the table that keeps you from flying around. And all you have to do is just move around. If he comes out of position, you just move him in there. There, he fell into position perfectly, so I didn't really have to do much. But it definitely helps because you'll be flying around the room otherwise. There, I didn't move at all, so this could be one place where you can tank him if you're having problems with being knocked around. Just have to kind of pay attention to this so you don't get hit. You can run over the table to avoid other things, and then just run back.
Knocking back. Watch your step.
And other than this little AoE CC ability that he does, if you stand in it, you'll get stunned for like 3 seconds. He's pretty straightforward. And again, Blackhawk statue coming in clutch for these large pulls because they gathers all of them up. You exploding keg into keg smash, and you have immediate threat on all of these.
All of you, feed on the void. Let its darkness fill you.
As you can see, there's so much going on. And these large pools do a lot in collecting chi for our aspect of harmony dot. As you can see, I was well over 5 million DPS there in this pool. And my chi is getting stacked up pretty high there. As you can see, I was at 30% in like 2 seconds from all the damage I'm dealing. Now, we don't really need to clear all of this entire room. We just need to clear enough so that we can take the drinks to the thirsty patrons or whatever they're called when they're at the table during the intermissions of this next boss. It's just enough so that you can run out and deliberate without being without aggroing anything. So here I gather all of these up, and I'm thinking that I'm gonna go to this corner. The reason behind this is you kind of don't want to spread all of those yellow pools in the middle. because it keeps people from running into it and taking damage and being slowed, especially when you have to deliver the drinks. One, and two, when he does the intermission, he summons all of these circles full of like rowdy patrons or whatever that if you run into you get stunned. You want to keep control of that, so not adding the pools that slows and deals damage kind of helps a lot. Here, I'm just trying to get to the farthest one, so I know that's the hardest one to get to. And I'm pinging that I'm gonna drag him to the right now. We already went to the left, we're gonna drag him to the right. And just standing close there so that he can kind of move me instead of me having to drag him all the time. And as you can see, all of those circles are coming along with us. So you want to make sure that you move as soon as you have some time and some space, just so that you don't get trapped back there and then just wipe the whole group. Whenever he does his throw Cinderbrew, you also want to move a little bit too, just so that it doesn't land under you or spawn a circle under you.
Keep 'em coming.
This time I take the farthest one on this right side. I had already used my transcendence there so that I could teleport into it. And now I'm pinging that we're going to the left. And again, it's the same thing. You just want to... You can get knocked back a little bit, that's fine, as long as the yellow circles aren't spawning on top of your... on top of you or your group, slowing everyone down. And that's just dragging towards the middle, avoiding the pack in the corner in the back there. And that's pretty much this fight. I know this fight can be very annoying because it's just so much going on. And I remember the first couple of times when I tried it, I was like 640 level and I was doing 3s and 4s. It was very, very annoying.
My zeal to get back in business.
Everybody kept dying to the dot, which I think they fixed because it was doing way too much damage back then. You didn't last more than like 4 or 5 seconds before everybody would die. It's kind of silly. I guess they didn't really tune that properly.
Help me. Please get my meadery back, Outlander.
These hobgoblins are a bit annoying too. If you mistime the charge, you can pull the whole room. Or if people don't move the charge towards their nearest wall, they will pull the whole room. I failed about 3 of these 11s before I finally timed it because people were having a hard time aiming the hobgoblin towards the wall, and they would run them down the hallway and pull extra mobs. There was one time where one of them ran into the whole room where IPA is at and pulled 2 extra packs. Because these guys won't stop running until they hit a wall, so keep that in mind. If you aim it towards the doorway, they will run into the next room and just aggro everything. So what I like to do here is I just tank them closer to the wall to give people at least a little bit of time to aim it somewhere. As you can see there, he's aiming it towards the wall and then moving out of the way. It's very smart. Having to constantly taunt those little droplets is kind of hard sometimes to aggro them. This way it kind of helps if everybody's grouped up closer to you. It's less running around. And again, just constantly chain pulling when everything else is getting low, just so that we can time it. So far we're doing pretty good because right now in the other runs I had, we had about 3 deaths, 4 deaths.
After any shred of control.
You can see on my timer on the Raider IO, by this point I already had 2 deaths. And looking at the death timers, I don't know if that's correct or what's wrong with it, but I remember last season deaths were 15 seconds each. Now it's showing that it's 5 seconds each. So I'm not too sure if that's correct or not, or if the death timers change once you get to 12s and 13s, which would make a lot of sense, yeah. But I will say that what problem with that would be that will kind of trick people into having this false sense of security of like, well, we timed it with 6 deaths on 11. Why am I not timing it with 6 as well on a 12 or a 13? Well, it's a huge difference. You're adding 10 more seconds to each death, so it'll be a minute difference. But when I get to 12s, we'll see.
Cinderbrew was my personal directive, my passion. She's ruining everything.
Target change.
Yeah.
It's too far away.
Feed. All of you.
Trying to drag
Feed
everything
on
into the
void.
Boomie's
Let its
beam.
darkness fill you.
Charging. Move.
Out of range. It's too far away.
Just pulling these two. I don't want to pull the ones in the corner because we don't need them. We don't need them for the boss, and we don't need them for count. Again, we can get
Charging.
count
Move.
by skipping like 2 packs, I think, overall in the whole run. So now that we've gotten to the pack before the boss, I'm gonna tank it in the corner because it helps when everybody stacks together. It helps a lot with controlling the, I guess, where the droplets kind of spawn.
Let its darkness
So
Target change.
if everybody's scattered everywhere else, it's difficult to navigate the boss around because people are dropping droplets everywhere, and one of those droplets might be the ones that can do the AoE damage. I'll explain it better when there you go, when he does this spouting stuff. You see everybody's there in that corner, so lets me move around safely and figure out where I'm going to route the boss. Hasty Provocations is so good for this. You have to talent into it, I would recommend, because you're able to move him away at a faster speed. And you also kind of don't want to move him away too far. You just want to make sure that he's far enough where he won't be touched, but close enough so that if you have any melee, they can DPS him pretty fast. There I'm pinging here in this corner. If you notice where those 2 large spots are at, that's where 2 of the drops are going to form again. So you see that one of them is already forming, so I'm kind of letting them know. I have my Ring of Peace ready in case I need to use it. They rooted it, so I didn't really need to use it. But I'm already kind of picking out the path for where I'm going to move them next. And again, picking out the area where it's closest to everyone, but also a bit far from the ads, and moving them in closer if I have to. So the important thing here for this is 2 things. 1, keep an eye out where these puddles are at, because those blobs are going to be turning into the droplets that will follow. So it makes it easier to know where you don't want to go.
Watch your step.
As you can see, there's already 2 droplets spawning there, 3, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna drop my Ring of Peace and pull him towards this corner.
Knocking back.
And he's already pretty low on health, so I'm not too worried. I pinged my team to kind of just DPS the boss down. We have enough AoE control on the ads that we don't have to worry too much. I already used my Touch of Death, so they didn't have it there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So Two things. One, try to make sure that everybody stacks in one corner so it makes it easier for you to move. And two, when you kill the first set of droplets, keep an eye out on where the puddles are, and then position the tank according to that, because you already know that that's where some of the drops are going to spawn. I was having a lot of like lag during this run. I'm not sure why. I was probably running another program in the
Watch
back
your
and
step.
it was causing a lot of lag. But it was a bit annoying because these are big pools that you have to do and you take a lot of damage. So it's like having lag and causing like a 1 second delay can probably get you killed here.
Watch your step.
Yes. Feed.
The Wrangler there,
All
I
of
did an
you.
aggro, but I'm pinging everybody to
Feed
come
on
to
the
this corner
void.
so that we can
Let
LOS.
its darkness
And then it
fill
makes
you.
it easier for me to get aggro on the Wrangler after he moves in. He's trying to cast,
Watch
but
your
there's
step.
nobody for him to cast to, so he has to move in.
Watch your step.
I have noticed that in these dungeons, I have not been doing as much group healing as I
Watch
would
your
in
step.
the others. Just because it feels like I have to use everything on myself. I think I'm taking too much damage. I don't want to say it's because of the eye level, because to be doing 11s or 10s at 656, I would imagine it's
Watch your
kind of
step.
low. If last season we were doing 11s and 12s with 626 gear, and that was 13 levels behind the max. This season the maximum I think is 678. So
Watch your
I think
step.
we're pretty much a little bit behind on gear, but we're trying.
Mortals.
So as you saw there, I
After
just
any
moved up to
shred of
spawn these
control.
bees. You spawn them, spinning great kick, and then you can go back to the original room. There I'm trying to push them all to the doorway so that we can just cleave them down. This pool is a little bit annoying because it has two Wranglers. What I would recommend instead of doing what I did is drop a Black Ox statue where the Harvester is at right now. And it makes it easier for all of them to group
Watch your
up.
step.
I think this season we get a lot more use out of our Black Ox
Watch
statue
your step.
because it's larger packs and they all kind of converge on this one point. Makes it easier to group everything up.
We had to lock
Watch
up
your
your
step.
bees. Letting them be free range was too much labor. And their anger and frustration just makes their honey spicier. Right, Benk?
Watch your step.
This Boomie interrupt beam was a blessing. There I kind of messed up because I wasn't paying too much attention. But if you look at my stagger bar, I'm taking 1.4 million damage
your
per
step.
second. And that's just at 107% stagger. It's just so much damage.
All of you. Feed on the void. Let its darkness fill
I was
you.
trying to pull the Wrangler, but I couldn't get in the line of
Watch
sight
your
of it.
step.
So I just ran into it and just body pulled everything.
It's too far away. I'm out of range.
Watch your step.
The DPS in this group was pretty good. I'm not going to lie. They were all doing over 3 million DPS like
Watch
in
your
AoE
step.
pools. Where I've been in groups where it's like 2.5 million. I'm like, oh,
Watch your
we're not
step.
gonna time because I'm doing just as much DPS as you most times. So yeah, it's silly. Now for this boss is it's pretty interesting because you have to keep an eye out on where you drop the hot Hot Honey Marinade.
For my bees.
But before that, Black Ox statue in the middle of the room because it helps with aggro on the ads. So you can see they all running towards the statue. Well, I have this. This really stupid on my behalf. I saw that the DPS was there,
Push back incoming.
and I dropped the hot honey on him and killed him immediately. Poor guy had no time to react.
Spread.
So that's something you don't want to do. Also, stay away from the ads because you don't want to ride the bees. Luckily, I think somebody had the jumper cables to res the boomie.
Spread. Push back
And again, just drop it towards the wall. If any of these bees come in contact with that, they will enrage, so it increases like their attack speed and the damage they do. I think it is. So you always want to drop it towards the edge of the room.
Push
And the
back
DPS, after they kill the bees, they want to pretty much drive the bees into the barrels. Just to clear them. You have to make sure that you clear the barrels. And again, this affix, annoying. I don't like it.
Spread.
If we would have had the orbs, I think it would have been a lot better. But here, dropping the hot honey again and then just moving back into the room. As a Brewmaster, it's pretty easy because you roll in and then you roll out.
Spread.
I think what made it a lot easier was specking into lighter than air. So you roll in, wait for it to drop, and then double taps your jump. You double tap your jump button to get out of it really quick. So we have a lot of mobility. Definitely helps in this one. And other than that, the fight is pretty straightforward. You just don't want to drop any of this hot honey in the middle of the room. Black Ox statue helps with aggroing the bees. As you can see there, they run towards it and it's easier for you to pick them up. You can also AoE taunt them off of the Black Ox statue.
Spread. Watch your feet.
I can't attack that. I can't attack that.
And that's that. That's Benk Buzzbee. You can skip, or well, you can pull these and then jump along the right edge where the barrels are to skip these other packs. But at this point, I'm like, I'm just gonna pull them just to be safe. You don't want to risk somebody pulling them as they're trying to run out. And then it's also not easy for everybody to do the whole jumping over barrels and stuff like that. So just make it easier for everyone. Look, if we look at the timer, we have about 10 minutes left. I'm pretty sure that if I would have pulled a lot faster or bigger, we would have +2 this. But we still managed to complete it. And here I'm marking the one that I want them to DPS just because of the fact that when one of these die, they all get promoted, quote unquote. So one of them becomes bigger. So I'm trying to mark these as fast as I can. I probably should make a keybind for this. I'll think about doing that at some point. But everybody, this group was pretty solid because everybody was paying attention to a lot of these things. They noticed that I marked it and they immediately started DPSing it. Whereas there's other groups where you mark something and they just don't care. They'll just do whatever they need to do.
Watch your step. Watch your step.
Too far away.
Watch your step.
I need to get closer.
I'm letting them know that I'm going to
Watch your step.
drop a ping whenever I get the frontal, which you want to do because you can kill the DPS with the frontal. At this point, if they take the frontal with you, they're dead. So
Watch your step.
you want to make sure that you let them know where you're gonna be
Gotten my
standing.
employees. But now you're dealing with the CEO herself.
Poor guy, the druid has been healing keys instead of DPSing, and his DPS is pretty good. There I'm pinging that I'm gonna be standing over there so that people can start moving out. And that's because you want to clear as many of these barrels as you
All of
can.
you. Feed on
Because during the intermission, she'll blow them up. So if you don't clear a good amount of these,
Nothing
you're
bad.
gonna wipe. So this is pretty manageable, as you can see. Sadly, yeah, 2 people died there, but we have a battle res, and the shaman used their Ankh, so we're good. And mind you that up until this point, we only had 1 death. It wasn't until here that we had 2. And the 1 death was caused by me, so my fault on that. So as you can see, during the intermission, it pops the remaining barrels. If you don't clear a good amount with the frontal, you're gonna have to worry about dodging a lot of waves. There, I'm just letting them know, like, hey, I'm gonna stand there.
Nothing bad.
You should dodge these. I didn't do a good job of dodging them, but you should dodge them.
Knocking back.
Sometimes because I know that I have the Celestial Brew defensive, I'll just soak one. Well, not soak, but I'll just take the hit just because, I guess, which is kind of lazy. Don't do that.
Knocking back. Special coming.
Business in it. Move
She's going crazy right
it.
now.
For you.
And that's it. That's the pretty the much. Can't even speak. That's it. The fight is pretty straightforward. There's really not much to it. You just have to ping in advance so that your group knows not to stand there. And that's because, whether we like to say it or not, sometimes we tunnel things. We just like zone out and we only focus on one thing. In this case, it would be just DPSing. There, I almost killed one. For sure, for sure.
That one.
I almost killed the hunter there. And the healer dies. But again, it's so low that it doesn't matter. I think we managed to get him up. There, I used my fortifying brew to instantly execute. And that's it. Cinderbrew 11. We managed to get it done with 4 minutes left on the timer, I think it is. Oh, 4.5 minutes. And I got a new shoulders that I'll probably upgrade to a new tier set. And that's that. Not too hard. These are the damage meters and healing meters. You can see everybody was doing really good. Great job on the healers we have, like always. And as you can see, Blackout Kick again being number 1 because of the 4-piece. Overwhelming Force also being really high because of that. Of course, Old Reliable Celestial Brew being number 1 on my healing done for the absorbs. Mudborn, that trinket doing really good. I'll hopefully try to farm DPS trinkets, but that's pretty much it. I'll upload this on Tuesday. Hopefully I get something good from my vaults. I maxed them all out, and I hope this guide helped. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below and I'll address it. See you for the next one.